It's TK Friday. You're watching The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and it's another full edit today. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. It is TK Friday, my favorite day of the week, and I hope it is yours too. Today, I'll be working on an image by Andrew Sykes. Thank you, Andrew, for submitting this image today. I'm calling this one Rocky Haven. If you have an image you would like me to work on a TK Friday, just go to the description of this video, click more to open up that description, scroll down to the bottom, there'll be a contact me link. Click on that link, contact me, and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. And thanks all of you out there who have sent me in images. And as always, I've provided the image as well as PDF notes so you could give this edit a try. Just open up that same description and you're going to find Dropbox links for the image as well as the PDF notes. And by the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, you can save 15% off the TK9 plugin for Photoshop along with training videos. Use my promo code DK15. That gets you 15% off of everything. Not only are you saving money, but you're supporting the joy of editing with Dave Kelly when you use that promo code DK15. So thank you all for using my promo code. I really appreciate it. And we're now in that holiday season. I want to wish each and every one of you happy and safe holidays and happy editing. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, as always, I start out in Lightroom. I'm using a linear profile in this image. I clicked auto, and here are my adjustments. And I just check to make sure I'm not clipping my blacks or my whites. And if I am, I'll adjust my white and black points. And then, as always, under detail, I have basic sharpening here, a little bit of masking. No noise reduction here except for some color noise reduction because this was shot at a very low ISO of 100. And under lens corrections, I've removed chromatic aberrations. I have that checked on. Enable profile corrections is also checked on. And also, I did do a bit of a crop in this image, so let me click on this crop button here. As you can see, there is my crop. Now, when you download your image, it will look just like this. And that's all I do in Lightroom. And now I would just right-click on the image, go to Edit In, and click on Edit in Adobe Photoshop 2024. But I'm already there. And here we are in Photoshop, ready to get started. Now, if you watched my last week's tutorial, I used basically all blend if in the edit, but today I'm going to go back to my regular way that I like to edit using luminosity mask, zone mask, color masks, and I also throw blend if in there along the way. I really love Andrew's image of, I believe this is Ogwen Valley in Wales. What a beautiful landscape. And today I'm going to do a little bit more of a dramatic look on this image. That's going to be my take on this image. However, we all have our own ways that we like to edit, but this will be my take on it. I always like to start out with balance and contrast, and we're working on a landscape with a sky and a foreground. So I'm going to save my sky and foreground out as channels first. So hold your Command or Control key down and click on this button on either the Combo or CX panel to select the sky. And what that does is it'll save it out as a channel, as you can see right there. And now hold that Command or Control key down again and then double click this. And now you will get a foreground channel saved out. We'll be using color grading tools to do the balance and contrast. So what we're going to do is come up and click on the luminosity mask button on the multi-mask panel, and we're going to click on midtones 3. And the reason I do that is just to keep me from clipping shadows and highlights. And now we want to output this to a color grading tool, so we'll click this button right here. And there you can see there's my color grading layer with a midtones 3 mask. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer by clicking this button on the combo panel. That'll just copy that layer on its own layer. And now we're going to make the first color grading layer active. And we'll start out by doing balance and contrast to the foreground. But not just yet. We need to go to our trusty layer mask calculator. So here's a little tip. Hold your Command or Control key down and click on the Layer Mask Calculator button. When you do that, you'll keep your Layer Mask Calculator open until you click this X button. And now what we want to do is click on foreground, because remember, I just want to work on the foreground here. What we need to do is intersect the foreground into this mask, okay? If you clicked apply, you would just apply the foreground as a mask, but it wouldn't have the midtones 3 in it. So we need to click X to intersect it. And now you can see here, we have the foreground and the sky is in black because it's not going to be affected. And also the foreground has the midtones 3 mask inside of it. Pretty cool. And now let's go ahead and do a balance and contrast. So I'm going to start out with the shadows. So let's click on the shadow button, and then I want to darken up the shadows a little bit. So I'm going to drag this slider to the left. Now you won't see anything change until you release the click of your mouse. And I'm going to drag this over to right there, -20. I also want to add a little bit of color grading here and make this slightly blue. And you can just hover this cursor anywhere you want and give it a click, and you'll drop that color grade right at that point right there. Or else what you can do, and I already have in my notes the actual number here. See this hex number right here? I can click right here and type in the number right from my notes, which is 1B1B1D. And then simply click this button to accept it, and it drops that color grade right in there. So if you want to copy right off my notes, you could do it that way. But to find that point, I just click around and experiment till I get the image to look the way I like it. And now let's go over to midtone. So let's click on the midtone button, and I want to open up the midtones. So we're going to drag this slider to the right, and I'm going to really open up those midtones, and I'm going to go the whole way over here to like +60. Now I'm going to do some color grading here too. And again, I'll just click on this field right here and type the number that I already have in my notes, just for the sake of time. And that was A7A58B. And then I'll click this button, and there's that color grade. Let me go ahead and shut this layer off by clicking the eye. There's the before and there's the after, and I like that. Now we're going to click on the top color grading layer to make it active, and now we're going to work on the sky. And there you can see our midtones 3 mask on the layer. So we're going to click on sky. And what do you think we do now? We don't want to apply that, right? We want to intersect it. So click the X, and now the sky will be intersected with that midtones 3 mask. And now we can do the color grade. I'm going to start out with shadows. So we'll click on the shadow button, and I want to darken up those shadows to right there, -46. And now we're going to go to midtones, so click on the midtone button. And I want to just slightly darken up the midtones, not much. Right there, -6. And now we're going to go to highlights. And I just want to open up the highlights a little bit to right here, +20. Now, I want to add some blue up in these highlights up in here. And I want to really be aggressive and add a lot of blue. And I'm going to be right down in here somewhere. But what I'll do is click in this field and type in my number, so I get it just right. And that number is 0E1CE2. And now we'll click this button to accept it, and there's that color grade right there. But you see, it just makes that sky in this light area a little more on the blue side. So let me shut this sky layer off by clicking the eye. Here's before, and here is after. But I just want that little bit of blue up there in the highlights. Now the initial balance and contrast for foreground and sky is done. I'm looking at the image, and I'm noticing 3 colors mainly. Some green, some orange color, as well as blue. And I want to work on the colors next. Now, right now, the layer mask calculator is open. We don't need to use it right now, so we can close it by clicking this X. And right now, I need to get to my multi-mask panel, and my color grading tool is in the way, so I can click this X, and now I can see my multi-mask panel, but nothing will change here on our color grading layers. I'll be working on green tones first, so let's click on this button on the multi-mask panel for a color mask. And now let's pick a color that represents that green tone, which is right here. I'm going to click and click OK. And now you can see there's that color here, but there's a lot of yellow back in here. So what I'm going to do is take this upper slider and drag it closer to green, and you'll notice this color will start to drop away. So watch, I'm going to start to drag this into the right. You see that? Just till that color pretty much goes away up in there, just like that. And now what I want to do is lighten up that selection by taking this brightness slider and dragging it to the right, over to right about here, I think is good. And now we're going to output that to a hue saturation adjustment layer because we want to work on color. So we'll click this button right here. And I can keep this on master because I've selected that color very accurately. So we're going to take the saturation and start to drag it to the right. And what I want to do is take it over to right there, plus 49. I don't want to go overboard, but I also want to shift it a little more to the green side. And so I'll take this hue slider and bump this to the right to like right here, plus 7. So let me shut this off. Here's the before and here's the after. But you see that nice green in there and over in here. And next I want to work in this color range right in here. So let's click on the color mask button on the multi-mask panel again. And let's choose the color like right about here, I think should be good. Click OK. And this time I want to drop the green out of it. So we're going to take the bottom slider and we're going to shift it over to the left. See how that green starts to fall out up in there? So we're going to bring it over to like right there. And let's brighten it up with this brightness slider. So we'll take this slider and we'll drag it over to somewhere like right about there, I think should be good. And we're going to output that to a hue saturation adjustment layer again. Click this button on the multi-mask panel. Now again, we can leave this on master because we've really isolated the color we want. So we're going to start out by increasing the saturation a little bit. So I'll drag the saturation to the right over to right there, plus 30. Now I do want to shift the hue a little warmer. So we're going to take the hue slider and drag it to the left. And we're going to take it over just a little wee bit over to right here, minus 8. And now I just want to lighten it up slightly, not much, to plus 5. Now let me shut this layer off. Here's the before and here's the after. And I like the color change up here as well as in the lower foreground. Let me shut that off one more time. So here's the before and here's the after. Next we're going to work on the blue. Let's grab another color mask. So we'll click this button on the multi-mask panel. And now I think like right up around in here should be good. That blue tone right there, let's click OK. And I think I'm getting a nice selection up here. I just want to go ahead and lighten up this selection to somewhere maybe right around there. And now we're going to output this to a hue saturation adjustment layer. The blue also comes down into this mountain, so what we need to do is remove it from the mountain foreground area. What we can do is grab a layer mask calculator, so I'll click this button on the combo panel, and then I'll just click on foreground and subtract the foreground out of there. Okay, so now that is gone, and now we can make our adjustment. And again, we're just targeting blue, so we're good. We can leave this on master. Now I'll get pretty aggressive here. I'm going to drag this over to like plus 70, and I just want to slightly lighten that. And I'll take this over to plus 5. So let me shut this off. Here's the before, and here's the after. Now, I'm just going to shut off all three of these saturation layers so we can see before the color changes, and now here it is after the color changes. So I think those really help. And this is leading forward onto this more dramatic approach to this edit. I went ahead and zoomed in because you can see some of this blue got on this mountain up here. We could take care of this. I don't like that blue in there. We can grab a black brush, click this button on the combo panel, and right now I'm at 10%. I'll type my 0 key to get that to 100%. Make my brush a little smaller with my left bracket key, and I'm just, with a nice soft edge, I'm just going to paint it off there. And then I'm going to hold my space bar down. You get a hand tool, and I can come over in here, and I can paint off any of these areas that I don't want that blue going to. So, and I have this all in the notes for you, by the way, just to get rid of that. There's some blue up in here. I don't want that. And I think we're good. Let's take a look and see where we've come from. So I'm going to click on my before after button on my combo panel. So we started out here, and now we're here, but we're moving forward. Next, I want to lighten up the midtones and add a little bit of contrast. I'll do something a little bit different here. First off, I want to get a luminosity mask, so we'll click on the luminosity mask button. And this is something that I always do when I want to lighten up midtones. Get like a midtones 1, output that to a curves adjustment layer, and change that to the screen blend mode by clicking this button on the combo panel. That lightens up the midtones. But here's the something that's a little different, and that is to put a nice S-curve on here, like this, just to increase that midtone contrast. You see that? And increasing midtone contrast is a beautiful thing. So let's check it out. Here is the before. I'm going to shut this layer off. Here's the before, and here's the after. No, I don't like what's happening in the sky. It's getting too light. So what we'll do is click on our layer mask calculator button on our combo or CX panel, and we can click on sky, and we can subtract the sky by clicking the minus button. And now let me shut this layer off. Here's the before and here's the after. So now it's not going into the sky. And next up, it's time to do some burning. I want to burn some of the darker shadow areas. And to do that, we're going to grab a luminosity mask. So we'll click on the luminosity mask button on the multi-mask panel. And I want dark tones. So here's darks 1, here's darks 2, here's darks 3, and here's darks 4. And I always recommend to try the different color channels. And I've done that, but RGB worked out just as good as any of them. So we're using that one. And then we want to output this to a burn tool. Now the burn tool has two different sides. The left side gives you a 50% gray layer. The right side gives you a transparent pixel layer. You can use either side. I'm going to use the left side, which will give me a 50% gray layer. So click on that. And now we're given a black brush, and I want to change my brush opacity to 30%. Right now it's at 100%. As you can see, I'll type my 3 key. That gets me to 30%. And now I can get a nice big brush here, and I'm just going to paint this on. I'm just going to paint across here. Now, every time I lift the brush, like I lifted the brush, I'll paint again. I'll add another increment of that value on there. It'll get a little darker. I'll paint across here a couple times. Over in here, down in here. I'm going to stay off this area right here. I'm not painting right now, but this area, it's already nice and dark. I'm going to come down in here, paint over this way, and move my brush to the left like that. You see that? Come up in here. We'll paint up in here a little bit, not too much. Maybe on this side a little wee bit. Up in there, I think I'm pretty good. I do think I want to darken these, whatever this is, mounds over in here, darken these up a little bit more, and maybe right over here just a little bit more, and down in here. And I don't know, I think that's pretty good. So let's check it out. Let me shut this layer off. This is before the burning, and this is after, and I think I like it. I think I went a little too strong right in here, so here's how we can fix it with a 50% gray layer. You can click on the gray brush, and I'm at 30%, and I'll just paint across here once, twice, maybe 3 times there. That's not quite as strong. Let me shut this off. Before and after. Yeah, I think that looks better. The next thing I want to do is just darken this area down right in here just a little wee bit. And to do that, I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer. But right now you'll notice I have a selection. You could tell by my selection indicator. So we'll click this button on the combo panel just to deselect the selection. And then we can grab our curves adjustment layer by clicking this button, put a black mask on the layer by clicking this button. And then we're going to change this to a multiply blend mode because I want to darken. Now nothing changes on the image because I have this black hide all mask here. To find this area here and make a selection, I'll try a zone mask. So we'll click on the zone mask button, and I think I'm going to click like right about here and click OK. And yeah, that selects that rather nicely. And then I just want to tighten up on that a little bit to somewhere maybe right about there. I think should be good. I may shift this slider over a little bit to somewhere just to fine tune a little bit. Maybe right there. I think it was pretty good. And now I want to output this to a black mask, white brush, painting through a selection. So we'll click this button right here, and we're going to darken this down with a brush. So we have our white brush. I'm going to change my opacity. Right now it's at 30% down to 10%. I'll type my 1 key. I'll make a smaller brush here. And again, I'm going to paint across here. I'm just painting one fell swoop right through here like this. And I'm just going to paint over in here. And it's only targeting that one area of tone. I still think this needs a little more. I'm going to paint over here, lifting my brush a few times. And now that looks better. Since I've darkened this area, I've increased the saturation. But let me show you how I can take care of that. I can use a clipping mask. We can go ahead and get a hue saturation adjustment layer, but right now I still have a selection, so I need to deselect by clicking this button on the combo or CX panel. Click on the hue saturation adjustment layer and click on this paper clip on the combo or multi-mask panel. That'll clip it to the layer right below it. And now we can decrease this saturation by dragging the slider to the left. See that? And it'll only target that area that we worked on. And I think somewhere right about there should be good. We are nearing the end of this edit, and this is the time where I like to play around with some actions, and on this one I tried soft pop. So let's click on the soft pop action button right here. Now if your actions aren't open, click the TK button in either the combo or CX panel, and then click on soft pop, and there's the soft pop action. Now here's where I'm going to use some edit blend diff, and I love edit blend diff for this kind of stuff. So we'll click on the Edit Blend Diff button, and I tried it on, say, like Lights 1, just applying it to Lights 1. I didn't like that. I tried, like, Midtones 3. Man, it was all right. But then I tried Darks 1, and I liked it there just in the dark tones. But then I tried Darks 2, and then Darks 3. And I thought Darks 3 tamed it up a bit, but check it out. Let me shut this off. This is without soft pop, and this is with soft pop, only on Darks 3. Now, it's only applying the soft pop to the darker tones, but it's giving those tones some detail and a little bit of pop of color, which I like it. It's not too strong of an effect. Again, I'll shut it off. This is without it. This is with it, but I really like the amount that it's giving me. I'm going to go ahead and close Edit Blend Diff by clicking the X. Nothing will change here on the soft pop layer. But Edit Blend Diff is great for actions, especially if you only want to apply that action to a certain luminosity range. It's really great for that. Plus, you do see the changes that take place when you click through the different Blend Diff buttons, which is really valuable. And now it's time to add a vignette. I'm going to do a freehand vignette on here. So I'm going to grab my lasso tool. I'm going to click on my lasso tool button. I have this nice light coming through here. So what I want to do is keep this area open here. So what I'll do is draw like a freehand vignette around like this area, like right up into here and staying out of here, okay? And now we need to use a TK action. If your actions aren't open, click your TK button on either the combo or CX panel and then click freehand vignette. And now when this comes up, I take the Gaussian blur for the radius that it gives me and click OK. And this defaults at a 30% opacity. So let me shut this layer off. Here is before and here is after. Now, a lot of times for vignettes, I will use Edit Blend Diff and apply a No Darks 1. But in this case, I really like it just the way it is. I'm not going to go there. So let me shut the vignette off. Here it is without the vignette and now with the vignette, and I like it. And now it's time for another action. Can you guess which one? One of my favorites. If you guessed Color Loom, for color luminosity, you're correct. Now, if your actions aren't open, again, click your TK button on either your combo or CX panel. Click on Color Loom for color luminosity. I'm just going to adjust 3 colors here, red, green, and blue. I want to darken up my reds a little bit, so I'm going to take those and drag this to the left, and I'm going to come over to here, -38. See, it just darkens up those red tones a little bit. I'm not going to touch yellows. Then I'm going to go to greens, and I just want to open up the greens a bit. And I think I'll open those up to, I don't know, like 100, 101. Right around there I think looks good. And then just slightly lighten up the blues. So I'll just take this and drag it to the right here, +18. So now let me shut off color luminosity. So here's without color luminosity. And here it is with color luminosity. And I just like the way it's working on the light in here and here. I think that looks really nice. Again, here's before and here is after. The last thing I want to do is increase the overall exposure of the foreground of this image. And to do that, we're going to click on this button on the multi-mask panel. This will give us an exposure adjustment layer. Now again, I only want this on the foreground, so we could use our mask calculator. So click your Layer Mask Calculator button on your combo or CX panel. Click on Foreground and then click this button right here to apply it to the foreground only. And now let's make the adjustment. There's 3 adjustments here: exposure, offset, and gamma correction. I'm only going to be working with exposure. So if you click right here, make this field active. Hold your Shift key down and use your up arrow, and you'll increase the exposure in tenths. And I do believe that's tenths of a stop. So I'm holding my Shift key down and clicking my up arrow. There's 1/10. Click it again, there's 2. Click it another time, there's 3. And one more, there's 4. Now I like it. Now I would like that sky to be a little bit lighter. So what I'll do is, in the Properties panel right here, click on this button for the layer mask, and we could take the density, and let's pull this back a little bit and add a little bit of lightness to the sky. And I think I'll take it back to like 70%. Now let me shut this layer off. Here is before and here is after. Now, you know what? I don't want it to lighten up my darkest tones, so we can use Edit Blend If. So let's click on the Edit Blend If button, and let's click on No Darks 1. And now it's not applying it to Darks 1. So let me shut this layer off. Here is before, and here is after. Now I think what I want to do is go back to the vignette layer right here, and I'm at 30%, and I think I want to increase this opacity a little bit. So let me drag this slider to the right, and I think I'll take it to 40% right there. I just like a little bit more vignetting on there. Now let's take a look at the overall before and after. So on my combo panel, I'll click my before after button. So here is before. We started here and now we end up here. And I really like it. Well, there it is, everyone. Another full edit. And again, I hope you give this edit a try. And happy holidays to everyone out there. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.